What if I told you that your body could be under attack right now, even though your labs are normal? That's the sneaky thing about antibodies. They can be sky high for years before you're officially diagnosed. And the longer they stay high, the more tissue damage, the more inflammation, and the more potential for other autoimmune diseases. Did you know that most people don't just have one, they have two and three? I know I've had several during different periods of my life. Some sneaky ones have popped up that weren't the original Graves' disease that I started with. So today, let's dig into why we have to get these antibodies under control. So I'm Holistic Jen. I'm a plant-based culinary coach. I'm a health educator, and I'm someone who's lived with a diagnosis of autoimmune thyroid disease since 2007. And I've been able to teach people to reverse their disease, and I hope that I can help you too. So you may be told your labs look fine. If you have thyroid symptoms going on, doctors only test TSH. That doesn't really tell us anything about the thyroid. And they don't even test the antibodies. And so you could have an autoimmune thyroid disease, but your doctors are telling you normal because they haven't tested any of those things related to an autoimmune thyroid disease or these other autoimmune diseases. So antibodies are your immune system's soldiers. They're fighting for you. They protect you from viruses, from bacteria, from other pathogens that should be out in nature. They're not meant to protect you from food particles and environmental toxins and things that have been introduced to our environment today. So that's one of the reasons why we tell you not to eat gluten. So gluten mimics thyroid tissue. And so if you have an autoimmune disease, you have inflammation, you probably have leaky gut. That's little openings in the intestinal lining. And that allows different proteins to pass through into your bloodstream where they don't belong. We're supposed to be passing it through the digestive tract. We're not supposed to be passing that into the bloodstream, these longer chains. And so your immune system says, hey, I don't know what this is. I need to attack it. And gluten looks a lot like the thyroid tissue. So it's shooting the gluten, but it's also shooting the thyroid. It doesn't realize it's doing that, but that is what it's doing. And it's creating all this damage. It's creating tissue damage and starting to slowly, very slowly, destroy your thyroid. And so in other autoimmune diseases, it may be attacking different parts, different tissues of your body. There are some antibodies to the brain, antibodies to your nerve endings, antibodies throughout your whole body. Your body could be attacking all those different tissues. So why is it important to get this under control? Well, the tissue damage. We want to make sure that we are able to reverse the shooting that's occurring, cool that inflammation, calm down the immune system, take out whatever is causing the body to attack it. If we stop putting gluten in, and that's what your body is shooting is the gluten, then it's not going to have gluten to shoot anymore, and it's going to chill out, and then we can get it under control and calm things down. You have inflammation overload. You've been under chronic inflammation for years and years and years. The symptoms don't happen right away. It takes a while for enough damage to occur for you to start experiencing that. And so we have too much chronic inflammation. There's the increased risk of other autoimmune diseases. Like I said, I've had Sjogren's, I've had Graves and Hashimoto's, I've had psoriasis. I don't even remember what all I've had, but they've just come and go. They appear and then they go away. Thank goodness I know what to do to reverse it. And so it also can lower your quality of life. How many times have you waken up and you just couldn't get out of bed? Or you just knew today has to be a couch day. I have to be just a pajama day. I need to stay on the couch all day. Or I have to push through. Really, the only thing I can do is lift my head up, but I have to go to work today. And that's hard. So for my story, I was diagnosed with Graves' disease in 2007. I have no idea why my antibodies were high. I don't even think a doctor ever even mentioned antibodies back then. And back then, the only autoimmune disease I had heard of was HIV/AIDS. So I was scared to death. First, it's called Graves. And then the only one I knew was HIV and AIDS. And so I was really, really scared. And the doctor told me I had to either have surgery or radiation. So I didn't know what was going on. I thought that my symptoms were part of my personality. I had a racing heart. I had lots and lots of anxiety. I couldn't sleep at night because my heart was racing so much. But I really just thought it was just high anxiety. I just had lots of anxiety. I didn't know why. I didn't know that that was symptoms of a disease. And that once my disease was able to get under control, I was able to cool that inflammation and repair. I no longer had the anxiety. I was able to sleep through the night. I no longer had the super bright red face that just would never cool off. My face would get so hot, and then it would take hours and hours for it to cool off and even get the redness away. And so thank goodness I was able to get over that too. Summers were torture. So what keeps your antibodies elevated? Well, I've already mentioned gluten. Gluten can be a big one. Leaky gut. So 70% of our immune system lives in our gut. And so when we have our immune system out of balance, we have got to focus on the gut. Make sure we're adding in healing foods, using healing herbs, and we're removing things that could be causing gut irritation. It could be food sensitivities. So gluten and dairy are very common. For me, even corn. I can't have any corn. That also irritates mine. For some people, it's, it could be apples, it could be meat, it could be all sorts of things. So we have to really hone in on you and determine what is causing a problem with you, looking for those food triggers. We also need to be watching for toxins. So back in 2007, not only was I eating a lot of gluten, I was baking tons and tons of breads and pretzels and croissants every week because it was nice and healthy. I was home baking, right? But I was also microwaving my lunch in a black plastic frozen container. And it was healthy, quote unquote, because it had a whole grain, it had vegetables, it had a lean meat, and it had a sauce. What I wasn't paying attention to was the ingredients. It was 20 ingredients long at least. I couldn't understand half the words, and I'm heating it up in the microwave in that black plastic. So I'm putting toxins into my food and eating those chemicals that are heated in the microwave. No telling what that was doing to my body. I was also drinking lots and lots of city water. I lived in the city at the time. I worked in the city, and I drank lots of water that's full of chemicals and fluoride that's not good for the thyroid. And I lost my train of thought. And so I was not only drinking, I was drinking it in reheated water bottles. So those disposable plastic water bottles, which release microplastics into our water. I was drinking out of that, but I was also running it through the dishwasher, which also causes more plastics to be released the next time I filled it up with water. So I was also putting lots of plastic in my body. Another thing that luckily I haven't had issues with, but a lot of people do, is blood sugar swings. And so if you are prone to having blood sugar swings, you have to get that blood sugar under control. If you don't get the blood sugar under control, you're not going to get your antibodies under control. And stress. Do you take pauses throughout the day? Do you get appropriate sleep? Do you find a way to laugh and experience joy every day? Do you pause before your meals, or are you multitasking while you're eating? Those are things that you need to pay attention to when you're eating to calm your body, because we heal when we're in a rest state. If we're stressed, if we're hyper, like I was getting hyper talking to you, then we have cortisol running through our body, stress happening, and we're not allowing healing to happen. So you have to have a way, an outlet throughout the day, not just once a day, throughout the day. Don't let yourself just drive. So how else can we bring it down? Healing our gut, eating lots of fiber. The average American doesn't even meet the 25 grams of fiber a day. That is horrible. You need 25 grams just to survive. If you want to thrive, if you want to really feed that microbiome, really keep it strong and healthy, you need to eat about double that, maybe even a little more. Cooked vegetables, fermented foods, and removing the foods that are not right for you. We are all unique, so I can't give you one rule today. We really have to look at you and what's right for you. We have to ditch those triggers. So if you are inflamed, we know that gluten irritates the gut lining. We know that dairy irritates the gut lining. You're already inflamed. We have to remove those. Once you have your antibodies under control, you can test them and see what happens. But you can't just test them once. You have to test them for several days to see if you have a reaction. But that's something down the line, because right now you have antibodies. We have to get it under control. We have to balance your blood sugar. So paying attention to what you're eating, wearing a CGM, that's a great tool to see how your body is reacting to your foods, and supporting your detox. So we keep ignoring the liver. The liver is barely mentioned in all of our wellness world, but the liver is key, right? We know you've probably heard of someone who needed a liver transplant or they died of a liver disease. It is crucial to keep it strong and healthy. What doctor do you know is helping you to heal your liver, take care of your liver, keeping your liver nice and clean? There are things that we can do. There are foods that the liver loves. It needs lots of minerals. It needs lots of nutrients. So we need to make sure we're putting in those foods that are healthy for the liver, supporting it with cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, turnips, radishes, raw and cooked. That's very important as well. If you have a thyroid disease, a thyroid condition, I should say, and you have low iodine, those raw cruciferous vegetables, they may not be right for you right now. You need to have them cooked. If you are getting enough iodine, then yes, you want to have some raw and some cooked to help with your liver health. Managing the stress, I already talked about that. For me, it took me several years to find the right tool. For me, it's Qigong. I have a lot of trouble sitting still, but being able to do a meditation with movement was perfect for me. So find what's right for you. And then focus on nutrients. When you're under a lot of stress, inflamed causes stress, right? You burn through a lot of antioxidants, you burn through some minerals. And so you may have to supplement or at least look for foods that are high in magnesium, high in selenium, high in zinc, and high in these other antioxidants, especially vitamin C. And get your minerals checked. You can have your doctor, you might need a functional medicine doctor, to check these vitamins and minerals. Vitamin D. Most doctors won't even check that for you. Why? I have no idea, but it's something that's very, very important to know. You want it to be over 70, but you don't want it to be over 100 because then that can cause problems too. And so you don't want to just go out and willy-nilly take supplements. You really need to get tested. So one of my clients came to me with TPO antibodies. That's a thyroid antibody that was off the chart. She had major brain fog. She had those heavy legs. She was very fatigued. And she had joint pain so bad that she could barely move, much less do the exercises that I told her that she needed to do. It was much needed to move the lymph and to help the body. She couldn't even do it. 3 months into our program, she worked on her gut. She removed the gluten. She removed a lot of the toxins that are found in her kitchen. And she got her blood sugar stabilized. And guess what? She went into remission. Her antibodies went down. Her energy came back. And she no longer had that joint pain and was able to begin exercising. So that's what happens when you can get your antibodies under control. So here's the big takeaway. Don't ignore antibodies. Ask your doctor to do antibody testing, because that is very important. If you have symptoms and your doctor's ignoring them, you've got to dig in. You've got to be an advocate for yourself and get the appropriate testing. Now, do you need a bunch of diagnoses? No. You can do these things without a diagnosis and see if you start feeling better. I know for me, my doctor wanted to keep testing me for more autoimmune diseases when I was really sick. And I said, why? And she said, well, you could take steroids. Well, I didn't want to take steroids. Why would I want to take steroids? Why would I take chemicals when I can focus on restoring my health right now and not be on chemicals, right? I'm not guaranteeing that for you. I'm not telling you can go off your meds. I ended up having radiation in 2013 when one of my doctors told me that I was going to die if I didn't. If I knew now what I knew then, I wouldn't have done it. If I had that other doctor back then, she would have helped me and I would have been able to avoid it. And so I'm hoping that you can avoid that too. If you did have radiation, then you probably will be on medicines the rest of your life. Unfortunately, I feel like a victim to the medical system, and I don't want that to happen to you. So you can find out more going to holisticgen.com. And I would love to have you join my membership group. It's culinaryhealingcircle.com. We do a lot together. We do food prep, we do a book club, we have a master class, and we do Qigong every Fridays. I feel like I'm missing something else that we do. Anyway, you can check it out at culinaryhealingcircle.com. I would love for you to join me, and I would love to help you get your antibodies under control.